Wow, we're already well into fall. And folks, I got to say something. It would be a mistake. It would be wrong to say there was a smoking gun indicating Joe Biden's alleged corruption. It would be wrong to say that, a smoking gun. You can't say that. No, you can't. Because there are three, not one, not a smoking gun, but three smoking guns. Absolutely. And if you haven't heard about them, I'm not actually surprised. You know, I've been talking about them. Newsmax has. However, you'll be surprised how people in conservative media, if the New York Times doesn't say something happened, then it didn't happen. Even for conservatives. Conservatives, a lot of them like to grumble about what the mainstream media sets as the agenda, but they don't bother with setting the record straight themselves. They just go with the flow. That's all it works. And since the New York Times has not acknowledged any of this, somehow it doesn't exist, but it does. Let's review some of the things we've learned since Labor Day. This check to Joe Biden from his brother, James Biden, for $200,000. Yep. Let's see, March 1st, 2018. All right, at that point, Joe Biden is an ex-vice president of the United States. It is to Joseph R. Biden Jr. Yep, that is Joe Biden. Robinette is his middle name. From Sarah and James Biden, his brother and his sister-in-law, Sarah. And let's just take a look at that amount one more time. $200,000. Now, those who have seen this check on the left, and not many have, say, well, wait a second, this is a loan repayment. Well, it says right there, it's a loan repayment. So obviously Joe just made a loan to his brother because he's that kind of guy, just a great guy. Yeah, they say that with a straight face. Jim Comer is the House Oversight Committee, and he is a hero, and he is underrated and overlooked, but he's got the evidence, and it keeps coming in. Watch.
On March 1st, 2018, AmeriCorps wired a $200,000 loan into James and Sarah Biden's personal bank account, not their business bank account. And then on the very same day, James Biden wrote a $200,000 check from this same personal bank account to Joe Biden.
Oh, this is explosive. Very explosive. AmeriCorps was a company. They paid James Biden because James Biden promised he could get them business from the Middle East because his name was Biden. Biden brothers don't have any skill. They don't have any product to sell. They just have the name. Well, they didn't get any business. They had to pay James Biden hundreds of thousands of dollars, including $200,000. On March 1st, that very same day, he writes his brother a check for $200,000. This stinks. And so does this. Joe Biden, in June of 2017, after all those years in government, just a few months out of government, dropped $2.75 million in cash for that beach house he loves so much. He spent a third of his presidency there. You know who spends this kind of cash? Super duper rich people. It must be nice. You know, you don't have to go mortgage broker, closings and all that stuff like regular schnooks. You can just write a great big fat check. And it's possible that he is super duper rich. I also hear that people buy real estate sometimes in cash to launder money. This is a real problem for Joe. It really is. And then we have this today, another check written to Joe Biden by James and Sarah Biden. This time, the one who signed the check was actually not Jim Biden, the brother, but Sarah, the sister-in-law, again for $40,000. Oh, it just says loan repayment. It must be another loan repayment. Sure. Congressman Comer from the House Oversight Committee. Again, he released this today, their committee did. And, well, let's take a look. Where did this money come from?
First, Northern International Capital, a Chinese company associated with CEFC, wired $5 million to Hudson West 3, a joint venture established by Hunter Biden and a CEFC associate. Then Hudson West 3 sent $400,000 to an entity owned and controlled by Hunter Biden. Next, Hunter Biden wired $150,000 to Lion Hall Group, a company owned by James and Sarah Biden. Sarah Biden then withdrew $50,000 in cash from Lion Hall Group. Later the same day, she deposited it into her and James Biden's personal checking account. A few days later, Sarah Biden cut a check to Joe Biden for $40,000.
I had it blown up again, Ed McMahon style. It's all here. And can I see that again? It's not complicated. It's actually not that complicated. The mainstream media, they want you to think, oh, this is all hocus pocus. No, it's not. It's pretty straightforward, actually. We can follow this. And when Joe Biden did something like this, if he did engage in this kind of scheme, and it certainly looks like they have the evidence that he did, that means we're all kind of sold out.
In taking funds sourced to a CCP-linked company that wanted to advance China's interest, Joe Biden exposed himself to future blackmail and put America's interest behind his own desire for money.
America's interest behind his own desire for money. That really rings true. More than rings true, we're seeing the evidence all over the place, and the evidence is in plain sight. Rich guy Joe Biden, and all the laptop stuff, the text messages, the documents going back years. And, you know, a lot of this stuff is coming from China. And what is it with Joe with China? Remember how he'd run around telling everybody how friendly he was with President Xi, yet let that balloon fly over our country and not do anything about it? Notice how tough President Trump is on China, and how strangely easygoing Joe is when it comes to all things China.
I have many people from China that I do business with. They laugh at us. They feel we're fools. You know, they're getting away with absolute murder.
China's a great nation, and we should hope for the continued expansion.
I don't want to lose $300 billion a year to China when we can't afford to build schools for our children, when we can't afford to build highways, when we can't afford to build railways, when we can't afford to build bridges. I want money to be invested in jobs and in this country. I don't want to rebuild China.
A rising China is a positive development, not only for China, but for America and the world writ large.
It was China's fault, and China's going to pay a big price what they've done to this country. China's going to pay a big price what they've done to the world. This was China's fault, and just remember that.
554,064 American dead from COVID-19. A lot of families want to know how this happened, how it got here. Have you had a chance to speak to any of your international partners, any of President Xi, who I know you go way back with? Have you had a chance to ask him if these reports are true, that China maybe misled the world at the beginning?
No, I have not had that conversation with President Xi. Thank you.
You can see it. You can see it. It's right there. Looks like China got their money's worth, doesn't it? I think this is a tell as well. When Joe Biden became vice president, you know, he used to run around talking about what a poor senator he was, poorest man in Congress. He never said that about his vice presidential years. Stop talking about that. I have the feeling that he was thinking about big money. Watch when he took the oath of office for the vice presidency, all the way back in January of 2009. Something interesting happens.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And I will well and faithfully discharge.
Did you catch that? There's a slight hesitation. That I will well and faithfully discharge. One more time, please.
Will well and faithfully discharge.
And I will well and faithfully discharge.
It's there. Microsecond, but I think he was very enthusiastic, maybe even ebullient about the potential, the earning potential of that job. Can I see the text? What made him hesitate ever so slightly? And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office I'm about to undertake. What do you think?